I left it in the glove compartment. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Evolution of E-commerce webinar, sponsored by the Veritiv Corporation. My name is Alan Blake, and I will be your moderator today. And I am the PAC Next Director. And I am sat here in lovely Las Vegas with another heat wave on top of us. So, boy, I'm so looking to that heat, as you can imagine. Well, I'm delighted that we have a global audience today with folks from across North America, Europe, the UAE, and India. I hope you're all safe and well, and I wish you success as all of you continue to deal with business continuity plans in this interesting and challenging COVID world. Before we get going, I'd like to highlight some upcoming events. And as you can see, PAC is very active in terms of offering courses and webinars. In particular, I'd like to highlight our webinar on October the 6th. I hope that many of you are familiar with our PIP 360 benchmarking tool to assess and score the circularity of packaging. So we'll be sharing success stories October the 6th. And in particular, I wanted to mention our PAC Golden Design Rules Essential course. This is the virtual course that will be offered on October the 13th. And this hopefully will appeal to many of you as we look at the ways to better design plastic packaging to create a more circular economy. So those two dates in particular, I hope are of interest to you. So what I'd like to do now is highlight the fact that this webinar has been recorded, and all of you will get a copy of the recording with the slides, and we'll also be giving you some key takeaways. You'll be able to ask questions at the end of the presentation, so please use the Q&A box to submit your questions. I'll do my best to cover all of them, but we will answer those questions at the end of the presentation. Let's move on and talk about our wonderful presenters today. We have Austin Given, and Austin is the Director of Packaging Design and Development for Veritiv Corp. There he oversees packaging design, engineering, and testing for Veritiv clients in the USA and Asia. And then we have Isla Woke. She oversees the creative development of brand and graphic packaging design for Veritiv and Vine clients. I'm going to hand over to our presenters now. Have a great presentation, and everyone please enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you,
Alan.
for the introduction.
All right.
All right, so
Okay.
thank you for the introduction, Alan. Just a little bit more about ourselves. Again, my name is Austin Given. I am Director of Packaging Design and Development for Veritiv for USA and Asia. I'm currently located in Chandler, Arizona, in one of our design centers, which is Phoenix Valley, Arizona. My specialty, kind of my background, is in packaging design, packaging engineering, and testing for product development and global sourcing of packaging. And then I'll hand it over to Isla.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the nice introduction. As Alan said, my name is Isla, and I am the brand manager for Veritiv's in-house design agency called Vine. So my background is really building brands. I'm passionate about design, good design, communicating through design, and building brands through the packaging experience. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm just really excited to be involved in this and can't wait to get into the history of e-commerce. So kicking it off, what does Veritiv do? Veritiv is one of the nation's largest distributors of packaging equipment and design services. We have this big company, it's a global company with a lot of employees. We specialize in ISTA certified testing. So we're able to test the packaging that we develop. We have 15 design centers scattered throughout the world and a lot of different designers of different functions, right? So we have engineers, we have graphic and brand designers, we have industrial designers and people who specialize in many different areas, including e-commerce. With that said, we also recently launched our internal design agency called Vine, as I mentioned. So now we are offering a little bit more of that front end creative exploration work in tandem with all of the other great packaging things that Veritiv specializes in.
Just to give kind of a snapshot of our reach around the world, as Isla mentioned, we have design centers and design studios kind of spread throughout North America and in East Asia. We have 4 ISTA certified labs. For those not familiar with ISTA, International Safe Transit Association, our labs are certified for that. We are members of ASTM, we're members of TAPI, and all our labs are also Amazon APAS certified labs as well. So we do a lot of design engineering, a lot of testing for manufacturing within these various centers. And as Isla had mentioned, we did launch Vine, our internal agency, out in Atlanta. That's why Isla's out in Atlanta. So just to kind of give an idea of the breadth and scope of what Veritiv can cover. And then on to the next slide is just a quick snapshot of who we work with, who we support. We're heavily involved in household name brands, consumer electronics. We're very well involved in automotive space, home goods, food, you name it, really. It's something that we're involved in, all the way from primary packaging for retail, for industrial execution, all the way to e-com, and that's what we're talking about today. We're also award-winning. So this past year, we did win first place in for Dieline.com within the sustainable luxury packaging category for our design development for the Dell XPS and Precision notebooks. This packaging did include ocean-bound plastics, thermoformed ocean-bound plastics as part of our sustainable message. And certainly we're very proud of our work here.
So as we get into the discussion about e-commerce and the history of e-commerce, where does it all start? So we think it starts with a very comprehensive design process. Here we've illustrated sort of the steps that we go through to developing a package. So it all begins with the strategy in the beginning, right? Doing the market research, understanding what the competition is doing, understanding the retail market, understanding who the audience is and who's going to be opening that package. So all of that, the beginning of that process is very important in developing that strategy. As we move along, we begin to define the visual positioning. So as we look at that strategic foundation that we've built, how do we react through design? We're gathering inspiration. We're looking to the world around us. We're going to architecture and nature and really getting inspiration from the world in which people live to start to develop that look and the feel, not only through graphics, but also through the structure and the form of the package and how all of those things work together. And as we move on to the next phase, the whole time we are, collaborating with our partners, making sure that everything that we design is manufacturable, so that we're taking in all the considerations of that final package and how it will be opened, how it's going to survive in transit. And Austin will be talking a little bit more about that later. But really making sure that everything we design is not only beautifully formed, but that it's functional as well.
In the next step of the process, this is really where we take the ideas and make them real. We investigate different structures, we actually prototype, we refine design, and get to the point of finalizing our concepts to get really taking that idea, making it real, making it manufacturable, and making sure that it is going to work in the real world, which kind of leads us to the final step, is really testing, implementation, and production. So anything that we set out to design has to work. We have a broad range of testing capabilities, of internal prototyping, engineering capabilities as well, that we focus on where the material is being used, what's the stresses that are going to be imposed on that package. Is it going e-com? So what type of e-com tests are we going to do within, say, the ISTA profile, Amazon profiles, and then we can actually test, validate that package, so that when we go to production, not only is the design designed for manufacturability and assembly, but it's also designed to work through validation as well.
Great, thank you. So what is the history of e-commerce? Where did we start? So what you're seeing here, I think the first thing that I could think of the history is, milk jugs were delivered by hand to your door. We've come a long way since then, right? So you think about pizza boxes, that's a form of e-commerce, right? Amazon, when Amazon first launched, I remember that they only sold college textbooks. And so, we're talking about different types of things that have been delivered to your door, and then really the evolution of where we are today, where we're going. If you see, we're now not only delivering food, but it's not just a pizza box anymore, right? There's an opening experience, there's a brand experience to it, right? We're shipping less stable items, and with those items, customers come to have an expectation of an unboxing experience. So, not only do we need to consider the temperature of this food that's going to be delivered to your door, but every little piece of that layered unboxing is going to have an impact on the audience, and could potentially, build brand loyalty and create a positive brand experience. So that brings me to knowing your audience. The importance of knowing your audience, I can't stress enough. People have begun to expect a brand experience that is impactful. And we've seen that there is a huge disappointment when that doesn't deliver, right? So even with items that you wouldn't necessarily think need a branded unboxing experience, it really, really benefits the brand to keep that into mind, and knowing your audience, knowing who those people are and what is important to them. Ease of use for the end customer, making sure that all the little thoughtful details are coming through in your packaging, as your packaging is your vehicle for your brand. So all in all, design-driven solutions lead to happy customers and increased brand loyalty, right? So as you build a brand, you are emotionally connecting with your audience. And that's why it's so important to not only keep in mind the physical function of the package, because at the end of the day, if you get a product that is damaged, no unboxing experience, that's going to be a horrible unboxing experience, right? So not only protecting your product, but also adding in really brand positive details to really solidify that relationship that you have with your audience.
So as Isla had mentioned, where we came from, shipping milk jugs, shipping, non-durable perishable goods for short durations of time, or durable goods solely through the e-com. That's changing. Now we're shipping a wider array of items to your doorstep in longer durations of time, further distances. Where before it might have been a local delivery of a floral arrangement, that could be now shipped across the country. And we still have durable goods, but now we're shipping clothing, we're shipping food items. So there's a wider array of products that are being shipped to everybody's doorstep that have different levels of expectation. So from the spectrum of form and function, if you can jump to the next slide, Isla. There's different expectations of what that brand experience, what that need of protection is. For something that is very, very utilitarian, maybe something that's very durable, does not maybe need the same level of brand unveiling experience as something that, say, is a high-end brand, or something that is that needs that immersive experience as well. There's a spectrum as well. So understanding where does your brand and product fall on the spectrum will really help you guide in that design and engineering considerations for what that e-com packet opening experience needs to be. So in the next couple of slides, we'll talk about a couple case studies.
So the brand experience all starts, in my opinion, with the packaging, right? So we have a case study here. This is a client that we worked with named Terra Cafe. As you can see, it's a tabletop coffee maker, right? It's a pretty bulky machine. And the challenge here was to create an unboxing experience that was actually an experience, right? And a positive one at that. So normally, when you get machines like this, you'll get the box, you take it out, you have to lift it, and it's heavy. You might drop a corner of it. So what we were trying to do is really emphasize that brand experience, keep the package clean and beautiful, but also improve like the structural integrity of that package. So as you can see, it opens up nicely, revealing the product. And there's still a layered experience here through the use of relatively simple materials and simple structure as well. So this package, would arrive to the door in an overpack and would get, a box around this once you open that. And then you have a retail-like experience for, and also e-commerce because it's delivered to your door.
Yeah. Just to add on to that, not only are you having that unboxing branded unveil, but the engineering that went into this as well. We had to ship a pretty heavy, large item through a very stressful environment in e-commerce. So making sure that this item that had electronic components, had a lot of mechanical components as well, is able to arrive safely at the door. We did have to go through a fairly robust series of validation tests as well to make sure not only is it arriving, it's going to unveil, it's going to be a beautiful working piece of your now kitchen, but it has to arrive in good condition as well. So that's just part of the entire scope of what we're looking at is, we're looking at the brand, we're looking at the unboxing, we're looking at the unveiling, and obviously the end experience. It has to be a beautiful working product at the end to really finalize that delivery of a brand promise as well. The next one, this case study for BioLab Sciences. This is a unique project that we had. The product is actually biomaterial. It's skin grafts. So what's happening is the skin grafts are collected. They're packed into this package that is then shipped, basically white glove parcel delivery. It has to be temperature controlled, and it's shipped for a very finite space of time from the collection site to the end, basically medical facility. So the end customer is the medical facility, the doctors, the healthcare professionals that are opening this to experience, obviously something that has to be functional. This is a very sophisticated test that it needs to be performed, but we also have to develop and deliver that promise. What's elevating that expectation of what this test is, what the system is, to make sure that the end customer, which is again doctors and health professionals, see this brand, see this this system as something that is elevated. It's elevated in their minds. It's not just a utilitarian pack. It is delivering promise. It's delivering confidence that this system is going to work exactly as promised.
Absolutely. And I think that this is a great example of the evolution of e-commerce, right? You wouldn't typically imagine that a medical material would need an unboxing experience, right? I didn't even know before this client came to us that this was happening, right? That if you need a skin graft, yeah, I guess the sample has to get to the lab somehow. So what's really, really interesting about how the market has changed is that these healthcare providers are looking for an unboxing experience, as Austin was saying, that supports the quality of their product, right? So if you imagine receiving this product in a banged up, corrugated box that doesn't really have any, that you have to tear open, that won't do much to build your confidence in the product. So I think that this is a really, really cool example of how the market has changed in e-commerce. Moving along, here's another one of our clients called Las Jarras Winery. This is an interesting one. This is a heavily engineered package, and there were a couple challenges with this. One, to create a really fun unboxing experience. Number two, to be able to fit different size wine bottles and different containers into the same box with one insert. So what we were able to do is, working with our client, is to develop this insert that could hold different size wine bottles, different size champagne bottles. And then even in some of the compartments, you can put cans in, because what they wanted to do is to be able to give their customers the opportunity to mix and match their box before they order it. Right. So, this all goes to say that, delivering wine to your door, you would think, and it has to be heavily protected, right? There are temperature concerns, and it's a glass bottle with liquid in it. So it absolutely has to protect the product. But something like wine, these boxes could cost upwards of, $200-$300. And there has to be an unboxing experience, right? It has to make you feel good, give you the warm and fuzzies as you open it. Austin, do you have anything else to add to this one?
Yeah, you kind of hit on the brand, the performance, making sure that we're able to deliver this brand expectation to the door with something that is quite fragile. It's going through e-commerce parcel delivery. So it did have to meet e-commerce parcel ISTA standard tests, something that we were able to iterate and evolve and refine this pack to get to the point of customer satisfaction, performance expectations, and make sure that this is when it does go live, and it is going to perform to our customers and end consumer expectations as well.
Great. So amidst all of this, we haven't touched on much on sustainability. What is the role of sustainability for your brand? Something that we take into consideration is what the brand's sustainability goals are. What is the perception of certain materials versus the reality of how sustainable they actually are. So one of the things that we do is we perform a life cycle analysis. This is to determine for different types of materials, what sort of spectrum it's hitting as far as sustainability goes. And as you can see, it's not a linear spectrum. There are many different many different things to consider. So something might use less water in production, but might be a higher human impact, right? There might be higher fossil fuel use, but lower water use in the production of the product. So really the whole point of this is gauging where on the spectrum, the material fits, And then what is appropriate for the brand? What do the brand owners want to communicate through the use of materials? Austin, do you have anything else to add to that
Sure.
one?
Yeah, the best way I can put it is sustainability. It's not one's better than the other. It's often a compromise. So as you're looking at various materials, there are trade-offs. There's pros and cons as we're looking at these. And typically when we run an LCA, it's not looking at, unless you really understand, the data behind a certain specific material, it's oftentimes running it with multiple materials to compare and contrast where your materials are. So life cycle analysis, LCA, is a tool that we often use to compare systems of different packages, because again, there are going to be trade-offs as we're looking at these various materials. We have ocean-bound plastics. Ocean-bound plastics are a type of material where basically it's reclaimed plastic material that is bound for a water stream that is ocean bound, or would end up in an ocean stream. There is some debate over, where's that material collected versus is it ocean stream. Typically, the materials we look at, the provenance is very clear that these are ocean-bound materials that are reclaimed. When we're looking at this versus maybe a bamboo fiber, molded fiber that has inks impregnated into them for pigmentation, versus a natural fiber, molded fiber material just to the right of that. Both of those molded fiber materials, one may be reclaimed newsprint, whereas the bamboo fiber is a renewable resource versus a recycled resource. Okay, we can run an LCA comparing virgin materials that are highly renewable versus recycled materials that, again, are reclaimed and recycled repeatedly. And then also looking at, are there inks present? Is that now a future contaminant that has to factor in? When we're looking at brand considerations, cost considerations, and sustainability considerations, where does this all lie? Because these are all pretty beneficial materials. They're interesting materials to use. So where's the brand expectation? And again, this is where that kind of compromise comes into play, because there may be brand expectations. It's maybe not as clean, say, as one material, but again, it's not necessarily a bad material. It's just when you're comparing the two, are both of these within the your expectations of brand, and which one matches your brand promise as much as possible. Isla, anything else to add here?
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of times when we're talking about these innovative materials, very exciting things, right? There are a lot of things that we can do, a lot of, things that we can do to brand these materials. But what's really, really important is when we're talking about these innovative materials, there's an education element that comes into that, right? So a lot of people don't know what ocean plastics are. The fact that we're taking plastic from the ocean and recreating a package from that, is surprising. And so if your end audience isn't aware of that, you have to weigh, okay, how are we going to educate them about this? If it's something important for our brand, then we want to educate people that we're doing this, right? There's also perception, right, of some of these materials might not look very recyclable. Honestly, the ocean plastics you see on the left, I would have never really known that it's made from recycled materials and that it's also recyclable necessarily. So that perception, the look and feel of it, if you're going for a really organic look for food packaging or something like that, you might want to stay away from shiny black plastic just because of that brand perception, right? So, to bring it all together in e-commerce packaging, it's really important to take all of those things into consideration, weigh the benefits, weigh the pros, weigh the cons, think about your costs, think about your brand goals. And with all that information in mind, then you can make some educated decisions there.
So when we talk about, where we were in e-com, I think I mentioned before, e-com was a lot about regional shipments, was about more localized shipments of goods. That's expanding, that's changing. We're shipping over longer periods of time, over vast stretches of the world. So that introduces new modes of transportation. We already had overland trucks. Things are shipping by rail. Now they're going across the sea on ocean freight. Now they're being shipped on FedEx or UPS overnight air. So all these very, very new avenues of transportation are being opened up. These open us up to new types of hazards. So, Isla, if you want to jump to the next slide. Thank you. As we're looking at new types of hazards, these packages are traveling longer distances. They're going to be handled more. They're going to encounter more types of environmental conditions. We have hot, we have cold, we have high humidity and rain. These things can do a lot to our packages as they're traveling across vast stretches of time, especially if the product inside is temperature or climate sensitive. This is another factor that we have to consider when we're developing and engineering a solution, and ultimately when we're going to validate for final production. So as we are looking at our packages, we're trying to understand what we need to develop, and then ultimately what's that global impact to our distribution path. So as we've seen with the global pandemic, we have global emergencies, shipping lead times. If anybody's tried to order anything on say Amazon or have anything shipped across the sea, lead times are increasing. The ports have resource constraints, as far as staffing. The carriers have resource constraints. The Postal Service within the US is having budget cuts. That's impacting actually lead times of package and letter delivery by days. So now when we're shipping a product that is going to be handled more for longer periods of time over larger spaces of land, now that's something that we need to really make sure that we understand. Are we engineering this the right way? Are we putting the right materials in there? Are we accounting for any type of material cost spikes that happen when there are raw material shortages related to global emergencies and economic impact? So as we're looking at that, these are all things that we can consider. But all of these can be measured. So when we're looking at brand, what's the expectation of brand for one product versus the other? Sustainability, shipping complexity. It could be a simple shipping avenue versus a very complex chain. Maybe it's cold chain. Protection of requirements, environmental sensitivity, as far as is this a climate sensitive type of product, and then time sensitivity kind of comes into play there as well. So all these can be measured, and then this really should drive some of the engineering and design choices that we make moving forward. Where, looking on the far left, we have our floral arrangements. There's going to be a high level of brand expectation, probably high sustainability goals, very time sensitive, very sensitive to the environment. Whereas you look on the just adjacent to it, you have lead pipes, or you have plumbing fixtures. Very robust items, probably don't require a lot of physical protection, definitely not time sensitive, definitely not environmentally sensitive. And then the brand experience is different. So when you understand your product and what the expectations in these various categories are, you really it becomes clear what choices make sense from an e-commerce standpoint. What's that brand experience expectation? What's that user experience? And then ultimately, how's that factor in with sustainability? How's that factor in with cost considerations? All these things can be factored so that you can start making the right choices for your brand in specific situations. So this kind of brings us to why it's so important to really understand and leverage experts that understand how products are shipped, how they need to be designed, manufacturing processes, your manufacturing process, your brand, your packaging suppliers' manufacturing processes. and also the logistics, how these are all traveling around the world, really understanding that. That's why it's so important to leverage experts. That's something that we're very proud that we have internally, that we can lend this expertise in all these various avenues. And also, if you want to skip to the next slide, Isla, it's why it's so important to test in certified labs. You can test and do gut checks. You can ship packages kind of here and there to get some anecdotal data. But the reason why it's so important to work with certified labs is we can recreate different scenarios within the distribution path, or within warehousing or within your logistics chain in a closed lab, in an environment that is something that can be recreated and consistently, and provide that confidence that your package is going to work exactly as you expect it. Within our labs, we are ISTA certified. We're members of ASTM. We're TAPI members as well for the paper materials. And we're also Amazon APAS certified. So when you have those types of products that are traveling through, say, Amazon, you need to have SIOC testing, frustration-free packaging testing. That's something that we do. And when you work with suppliers that both design and engineer your package and can test and validate your package to make sure that it's meeting those standards, you don't have to go to multiple sources and guess, am I making the right decision? When you're working with certified experts and certified labs at the same time, we do the work for you. That's a great benefit that we're able to offer and we're excited to when we see opportunities to create optimization in packaging, or see opportunities to fix issues that may be existing in your current supply chain. That's why it's so important to, again, work with the experts, work with certified labs. You're going to be able to have the most confidence in your end results.
Great. So, to wrap all of this up and thinking about e-commerce packaging, there are a lot of considerations that we've talked about today, but there's more. What are the future considerations, right? And how is your brand able to prepare for them? So one of the things that is very important is to keep an eye on the trends. We have unmanned driverless vehicles out there now. And drones shipping packages directly to your door. Now that's going to have an impact on how the packaging is designed, right? So, it's always important to stay ahead of the curve, right? When COVID hit, it really affected a lot of businesses and a lot of people in many different ways. And it had an impact on, like Austin was saying, shipping lead times. All of these things were affected, right? So there are always going to be things that you can't foresee, but staying on top of trends, being cutting edge, making sure that your brand is ready to react when things do happen, is something that we can help you with. And, really keeping all those future considerations in mind as you're dealing with any challenges that your packaging presents currently is also really, really important. So yeah, with that, I think that's all we have. Thank you guys for your time so much.
Isla and Dustin. Dustin. How did I do that? I've spoken to you just 20 minutes ago. Isla and Austin, thank you so much for that great presentation. What I'd like to do is to remind everyone that you can post your questions in the Q&A box, and we will do our utmost to get to all of those questions as they come up. And again, a reminder that everyone will receive a recording with the slides and key takeaways. So with that said, let's get into some questions here. And I wanted to start with you, Isla, and just ask about, what was the process here with Veritiv to decide to have an internal design agency, Vine, and what have you seen now over a few years of experience as the benefits of having this internal design agency?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the history there is that Veritiv has always offered really, really amazing engineered packaging solutions, right? We have always been able to be innovative from a material standpoint. There has always been this very production heavy expertise, right? What we were finding with some of our customers was that there is this area of expertise, but we couldn't, with the face of Veritiv, really come in and talk to like the brand owners, creative directors, people who are more on the creative side, because we were coming from this point of view of so heavy production, right? So it's that kind of side of the emotional versus the tactical and functional, right? So what we wanted to do was really build up that front end creative expertise and be able to offer that to our customers as well. So with Vine, what we can do is really come in from the very beginning and conception of a brand, of a package, and be able to offer that exploration and really connect emotionally and have that purely creative piece of that puzzle, right? The beauty and the difference of Vine and Veritiv together is that with that highly creative side, we are always keeping manufacturability in mind because we're one team and we work with the engineers and we have, the testing. Austin and I are on two different sides of the spectrum, right? But we work together every single day. So that's kind of the beauty of that.
Thank you, Isla. Well, you gave the segue here to Austin. What are you seeing as the benefits of having this internal design agency? And clearly, it sounds like obviously there's a communication component, but I'm sure you've seen a lot more.
Yeah, so well, in a prior life, Veritiv was actually a vendor of mine. Actually, I always loved being able to come to Veritiv and understand. Veritiv is a B2B distributor of packaging materials. We engineer them. We are material neutral, so that when you're looking for a holistic solution, you understand, I don't have to go from one supplier to the next supplier to the next supplier and hope to God they all play nice in the same sandbox and work together. But when you're also coming in as a new brand, you want to come up with new ideas. You want to come up with something that has a holistic and complete approach, where Vine is really geared more towards those. The startups, the new brands, those fresh brands that really want to start off on the right foot. They don't necessarily want to start off and kind of chunk along and then get better, and then eventually you have a proliferation of 1,000 SKUs that there's no real rhyme or reason or continuity of brand across the spectrum. You can come to us, and Vine is really that upfront. We're going to set you off on the right foot with your brand so that you can scale accordingly. And then on the back end, it has the power of Veritiv engineering and product sourcing and logistics. That it's kind of that one-stop shop. You have that amazing brand experience where you're getting amazing ideas. I can't tell you how many times I go to a brand agency, I get a deck of a beautiful package that couldn't be made, or couldn't be made at cost. Your package is going to be $15 when your target is $2. So being able to work with Vine with the backing of Veritiv, not only are you going to get something that's beautiful, it's going to be on cost, it's going to make sure it works, it's going to be fully engineered. That is the power that is, I would say, unparalleled within our industry. And that's really where I see the benefit of Vine, is able to bring that to people that really need it on that upfront. It's going to save them a lot of pain on the back end of having to basically do a rebrand once they get their operations around, getting towards efficiencies. We can do that on the upfront and save a lot of headache on the back end.
Yeah, I was going to add in there, the benefit to the customer there as well is that it's going to reduce your lead time in getting to market, which, timing is always going to be a challenge, right? But I've seen throughout many times in my career, clients or even previous companies that I've worked for, having to redesign their packaging because what was proposed by the agency is, like Austin was saying, totally unrealistic, not producible, not keeping, all these different considerations. And so then you not only have to pay for that design, you've got to have someone like Veritiv come and redesign it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the beauty of it is going to reduce your time. You're going to be sort of sharpshooting more, like you're getting it right the first time rather than kind of muddling through and having to go back and correcting later.
All right, good, thank you. Well, we have some questions coming through here now. And this one is, when you develop designs for the future, such as packaging delivered by drones, do you develop a new testing standard, and how would you validate it?
Yeah, great idea. So anytime, say it's drones or say it's cold chain or say it's anything that's really new, you would take a step back and really understand what's your distribution map, understanding what's that path. And it's not necessarily even generic. It's specifically, where is this product being originating or origination zones? What exactly is occurring during that, during handling? And you really do get into the minutia of it's being carried from here to there. It's being interacted with this type of equipment, the storage climate zones. You can actually build test standards. ISTA standards are amazing standards because they've been tried and true tested for specific cases when you generally understand the distribution path. But if you have very specific needs, sometimes those standards, you have to deviate, or you create your own standards or a compilation of other standards, or you just create your own. And then when you do want to do validation, something that we have internally is data recorders. So we use data loggers that you can ship your package from A to B or A to B to C and measure vibration frequencies, impacts, climate conditions. You gather all that data, and that should help drive some of your understanding of the different impacts, different environmental conditions that you are observing. And then ultimately you want to make sure that on the back end that works. So you take all that data, you do all your testing, and then you can do live link testing as well to help validate your solutions. But by no means is a standard test the end all be all. In my career, I've created so many customized packaging tests because there's very specialized types of situations that your package is going to be handled or endure that is unique to your specific needs. I think back to a project I worked on that was shipping products to areas within developing third world. There was no roads. It's all back mountain buggies on packages on the back of a scooter. That there's no ISTA standard that will even come close to that. So how do you make sure that your package is going to arrive from A to B? Standards kind of cover the broad spectrum of what you can expect. But if you have very specialized needs, that's really where the expertise in logistics and understanding how data can be collected through packaging logistics to inform your testing protocols into the future.
Thank you. That was a great answer. And it got me thinking about, the 3 case studies you shared, and they were all very different, the TerraCraft, the BioLab Sciences, and Las Jarras. And they all were looking at an unboxing experience that to build brand loyalty and get, great feedback. I'm assuming that in your iterative process of design and testing that there were some challenges across all 3, and they may have been different. Yeah. I'm just wondering how you managed that, this iteration between testing and refining the design, and testing and refining to the design to a point where you have the confidence that this thing is really going to work. And I guess that question is for both of you. I don't know who'd like to start.
Yeah, actually, something just popped into my mind. I'm sure Austin's thinking the same thing, but for Las Jaras, one of the challenges was the customer expectation. So, in working with clients, no one knows their brand like they know their brand, right? We view them as their brand experts. We're coming in to support and make sure that we're communicating visually and hierarchically accurately, to support their brand. But we really look to our customers as the leaders of their brand. And sometimes the expectations need to be managed. Like, listen, we can have a brand experience, we can have these certain things, but you might be compromising, the safety of your product, right? So it's really a push and pull, and offering solutions that are going to meet their expectation. It might be a different idea than what they had to begin with, right? But really making the brand experience what they expect it to be, even if it's a slightly different direction. So with Las Jaras, for instance, I think that there was a certain flap that Austin's team had designed to really secure the bottles in. And Austin, you can take it from here about how you kind of approach that, that challenge.
Yeah, when we have different structure needs, obviously there's the brand expectation, but there's performance expectations as well. Typically, what we end up seeing is you can have a performance pass for the product, but maybe the package does not meet the expectations. In the testing world, we would fail it for aesthetics. That doesn't mean the product is in bad shape. That does not mean that that's going to happen a high rate as well. So that's kind of the push and pull of e-com. Is there's a lot of risk when you're shipping something from A to B. What level of pristineness basically are we expecting? The inner pack, the outer pack, the outside brand of the outer pack. A lot of brands are contending with porch piracy. You're shipping something highly branded, a very luxury item to someone's door, and it's basically a billboard plastered for what the cost and value of that item is. A lot of brands are saying, hey, I don't necessarily want to have that on the outside. I want to have that experience on the inside. And then also, 2% of my shipments may arrive with some level of aesthetic defect. Is that acceptable? What level of aesthetic defect is acceptable? Every brand's going to be different, and then you may have the product that is a couple sets of screws that goes in a mailer bag and it gets tossed on your doorstep, and you can literally step on it and nobody's really going to bat an eye. So there's levels of utilitarian versus brand experience. Is the product functioning, or is the aesthetic impacted? Those are all things that have to be weighed when we're making these decisions. It's not just, we don't just say, did it pass testing, did it fail testing? What are we grading off of? You tell us, and then we will provide you the information so that you can make an informed decision, weighing risk reward of what that package needs to do.
And what's great too is that, throughout the design process, we all are working together. So Austin will say, hey, or someone from his team will say, hey, this is like a red flag to me. We might want to address it. So we're able to get ahead of things before we even enter into testing, because of that collaboration between the creative and engineering. And, when we do test, their team usually has a really good idea on whether or not it's going to pass or fail, or, what the problems are going to be. So what we're able to do is react to it. Sometimes we'll test just to prove out to a customer, they want to just see how their package is performing now, right? And so we can test and then say, okay, in order to fix some of these issues, here's what we recommend.
Okay, thank you. We have another question here, and this is an interesting one. You talked about how you profile the products, and what the challenges might be, on the needs might be, depending upon whether it's, it's flowers or it's plumbing to, wine bottles. And I was just wondering if, as part of that profiling now, some of your clients are asking you to think about legislation, because legislation is starting to happen in the US with EPR programs in Maine and Oregon, and of course we have EPR programs in Canada. Is this the sort of thing that crops up and that you can address as part of your profiling?
Sure. We have a pretty robust international and domestic sourcing group. that works with all these different materials. They're very much in front of what legislation is happening. You know, when California passed Prop 8, there's other EPR legislation that's going on throughout the U.S. world. There's German Green Dot that we have to factor in. All these things that we have a sourcing group that we're constantly communicating. Hey, these are things that we need to contend with. These are things that we need to inform our clients on as far as our material capabilities and considerations for where this product is going to ship. And if there's any red flags that we need to highlight and say, hey, you're looking to use this material, but this may be problematic in these regions of the world. Versus, we can always make recommendations to say these are global safe materials. These materials may have a hard time in certain waste streams versus others. And then there's legislation that could be impacted. So within our group, we do have the ability to have that communication so that we can share out to our clients and make sure that they have the information ahead of them as well.
Thank you. So to all of our attendees, you'll see a poll going up there. If you could please rate the webinar for us. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to offer Isla and Austin the chance to leave their final thoughts and messages for our attendees today. So Isla, let's start with you, your final thoughts and messages.
Great, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. It was really nice to be able to talk about some of this stuff that we're so passionate about. And my final thought is brand, form, function, engineering, it all can sit together, right? And you can solve all of those different problems, as long as you have the right people that are informing you, right? So I will type my email into the little chat here in a second. And, as I said, I'm the brand manager for Vine. If anyone ever has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Isla. Austin, over to you.
Yeah, I'll echo thanks for having us. It really is an honor to be able to speak on a subject that, we love packaging. I mean, we absolutely love what we do, and we're so thrilled to be engaged with brands, your brands developing your products and launching them. Kind of going back and echoing what Isla said is, work with people that really know what they're doing, have an understanding of the holistic approach, and that can create, an experience for you that you're looking for and your clients are looking for. I like to think of packaging as it's that introduction. It really gives us a chance to be thoughtful in every step of the way. Obviously there's cost considerations, there's brand considerations, there's a lot of considerations, but when we're able to be thoughtful at every step and approach it as this is an introduction of your brand to the world, when we take that approach, we can really create beautiful messages. We can create meaningful experiences. And if you're working with people who do this on a day in, day out basis, have that level of expertise and the tools to really help develop your package to the best that it can be, we can do really amazing things. And that's really what energizes me about packaging and developing for brands. So I, again, same as Isla, I will put my email in the chat box. So feel free to reach out with any questions.
Well, fantastic wrap up. Type your contact details in there now for those still with us. We'll make sure that everyone gets your contact details as we send out the recording, the slides, and the takeaways. And exciting times. What a great presentation. And we'd love to have you come back because, you're at this interface of this ballooning growth in e-commerce. And no surprise, perhaps, with the global pandemic, that this is something that's here to stay and is just going to increase and mature. And you're going to see all sorts of fantastic trends there that you will have to face as a challenge for your design and testing. So congratulations, a great presentation. And thank you so much. Thank you to our attendees from all over the world. Look up PAC, www.pac.ca. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Stay safe, stay well.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.